You are suing your travel agent.
The hotel was supposed to be like super extravagant. We ended up in like the slums of Bali.
She's just mad that I'm not with her, and she's mad try to get a free trip.
Yeah, I was in desperate need of a new car, but I saw a little red Sportage.
Right away, while we were test driving it, we felt somewhat of a shake.
I became the messenger between them and the mechanic.
Plaintiff Lorenda Thompson says her once-in-a-lifetime trip to Bali was a disaster. She's suing her former travel agent for $4,812. Defendant, Jeffrey DeVos, says the plaintiff is just trying to get a free trip. He says he owes nothing.
You're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
This is case number 210 on the docket, Thompson versus DeVos.
Okay, and welcome to both of you. All right, we have here the plaintiff, Ms. Thompson. You are suing your travel agent, Ms. DeVos,
Yes.
for $4,812 for what you call a botched trip to Bali and emotional distress. Why don't you tell me your side of the story, and then I'll get to you.
I booked the trip through the Black Travolution, which is his business.
Yes.
This is my third time booking with the Black Travolution, so I assumed that this trip would be like the others, which were great. Unfortunately, it wasn't. This year, I paid for 3 hotels. 2 out of the 3 hotels weren't as promised.
And these were supposed to be 4-star hotels? Or
yes, and the last hotel, which was the Lorenda, was supposed to be like a super extravagant hotel.
Yes.
We ended up in like the slums of Bali.
How many nights were you there?
In Bali or at the hotel?
At the hotel.
The hotels were 3 nights each.
Why did you not get into the hotel that you had booked?
He said that they were booked and that they only did king size, so they would have to put 2 people in 1 bed instead of having 2 beds in 1 room.
Okay, so that was not what you had
Paid for.
paid for.
Correct. The third hotel, which was the one that I was looking forward to, is very nice. It's on the water. I can show you pictures to just kind of show you what I dealt with that.
Show me what I'm looking at.
Okay, so on the left is what I paid for, which is the Lorenda. It's very nice, and you can see
Okay, that's the hotel you paid for.
Yes. On the right is, unfortunately, my view from my window.
You were supposed to get what's on the left, and you got what's on the right.
Correct. It was infested with mosquitoes, and the sink didn't drain at all. The cabs wouldn't pick us up from that area.
That's not true.
That's very true.
That's not true.
Okay.
The cabs wouldn't pick us up from that area. They tell us to walk down the alley in order to pick us up.
So you didn't get the hotels you paid for.
Correct.
We get that for 2 of the hotels.
Correct.
The first one was okay.
Correct.
And what else happened on the trip? You also sued for emotional distress.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I explain?
Yes, explain the emotional distress.
Oh,
Okay,
talk to you. What
going
you talking
in,
about?
I initially tried to, Jeff pulled me to the side at the second hotel to discuss things about him and his ex. Nothing to do with why we're sitting in this hotel lobby for 4 hours. I'm trying to deviate the conversation into that because I kept telling him, that's not my business. And I don't really care to be in other people's business. While this was going on, 2 of his friends came up and approached me twice, and in a type of manner like, is there a problem? And I said, well, we talking.
That's not true.
And so later that night, they then attacked my friend at the pool. So after that, from that point on, we didn't feel safe being around them. Jeff also left us at the hotel when we paid for ground transportation to get back to the airport on the last day.
So how'd you get back to the
We had to call a
airport?
cab.
Okay.
But
All
you said
right.
a cab don't come to that area. So
Yeah, and we still
So you
had to
walked?
call a cab.
So you walked to catch
We
a
had
cab.
to call a cab.
Okay. What's your story?
How you doing, Jerry? First of all, I own a business called the Black Travolution. I've been around about 5 years.
Yes.
I take 30 to 40 people to different trips around the country.
Yes.
Just this past April, I took 36 people to Bali, Indonesia.
Yes.
Only thing that happened during that trip, the hotel number 3 was different. But nobody complained about the trip except my ex, which was our best friend, and the 5 people that was with them. So out of 36 people, only 5 complained about the trip. She's just mad that I'm not with her best friend, who was my ex.
That's
and she's
not my
mad.
business.
She's mad to try to get a free trip. So she's suing me because she didn't get her money
Okay.
back or a free trip.
Whatever the motive is,
Yeah.
the fact she stated, and I'd like you to answer,
Okay.
she didn't get the hotel that she originally was supposed to get. Is that right?
Yes, but let me explain. When you go into any foreign country, things happen. And per my terms and conditions, it states here, if applicable, the advertised hotels and event itinerary are subject to change at any time. You will be notified of any changes. Now, the reason the hotels were changed, the first hotel was fine. The second hotel we changed because they didn't have enough double beds. Now, mind you, out of 36 people, you have some couples, you have some people that are roommates. So I'm not gonna put, two men or two women into the same bed if they don't want to be in the same bed. So what I did was I found an alternative hotel, and I actually found a better hotel. It was a 5-star hotel. Nobody complained about that. Nobody complained about it. She didn't complain about it. You had a good time there. You didn't complain about it.
This whole trip, not everything that you paid for was delivered. And I'm not saying to the defendant that it was bad faith on your part. I'm not getting into that question. The fact is people are allowed to get what they pay for.
So
what?
But my terms and conditions on my website clearly states that hotels can change.
Speaking of terms and conditions.
But it's not the same quality hotel.
'cause he's
So,
beloved.
all right, I've heard from both of you. The questions come for the second and third hotel. What she paid for wasn't delivered. You were asking for reimbursement of your flight, and the answer I'm giving is no. You're not. You did take the flight. You're paying for that flight.
Okay.
The suit says you want $1,117 return of that for the Bali Hotel event package. Well, I'm giving you $500 for the hotel package, and I'm also going to dismiss the claim on the emotional distress.
Thank you. Jeff was a scam artist, and he's been doing this for years, and he basically pocketed a lot of money off of this trip, and nobody got what they paid for. And I would never in my life book with the Black Revolution ever again, and I wouldn't advise anybody else to.
I'm only here because she'd have a chance to file a chargeback like the rest of her friends to get a free trip. And she's just upset that I'm not with her girlfriend anymore. That's it. My trip was awesome. It took 36 people, 32 had a good time.
Plaintiff Christy Genuine says she bought a car from the defendant's car lot, and it broke down within a week. She's suing for $2,678. Defendant Sam Shalash says he did not misrepresent the condition of the 19-year-old car and sold it as is. He's countersuing for $614 for repairs he paid for.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All rise. The Honorable Judge Jerry Springer now presiding. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Najee.
You have case number 24 on the docket, Jenna Wayne versus Shalash.
Okay, we have the plaintiff, and that is your son?
This is Ryan, my son.
Ryan, your son, and you are suing the defendant, Mr. Shalash, in the amount of $2,678 for the value of a car.
Yes.
But, Mr. Shalash, you are countersuing in the amount of $614 for car repairs. Okay, I'll start with you.
In January, I was in desperate need of a new car. My van had a cracked block, and the heater wasn't working. I was freezing. Didn't have a lot of money, but my son found a car on his app that we wanted to go look at, and it was for sale by owner with an address.
Right.
And we ended up on Sam's used car lot, which surprised us, I think.
Oh, because you thought it was...
I thought it was a for sale by owner, so it was kind of, we started out a little bit of a bait and switch just from the get-go.
I never represented that this car was being sold by owner and not by a used car dealership. I never claimed that it was a residential place that was selling the car. So I don't know why they're saying that versus the dealership. I own the dealership. It's my dealership.
The
And I
app it
list-
was on was a for sale by owner.
No, he's talking now.
I'm sorry.
I list all these vehicles the same exact way. Most of it is on social media, Let Go and Facebook Marketplace, and that's where they found the vehicle.
We looked around the lot because I was really in need of the car.
Sure.
And I saw a little red Sportage that I went to have a test drive in.
So you did have a test drive?
I did take a test drive.
First of all, How old was the car? What
It was an
model?
older car. It was 2000.
2000?
Sportage. Yes, it was older.
So the car was 19 years old to begin with.
We test drove the vehicle with Mr. Slash in the vehicle.
Yes.
Right away, while we were test driving it, we felt somewhat of a shake and we heard a little bit of a rattle.
Yeah.
At that point, we addressed.
And you were rolling.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you
we were
shake,
driving
rattle,
right
and
on the
roll.
road.
Shake, rattle, and roll.
Yeah, shake, rattle, and roll.
Your Honor,
But we.
You get a bonus for laughing at every joke I give.
So keep them coming.
Go ahead.
So we felt a little bit of a shake, heard a little bit of a rattle, and like I said, Mr. Slash was in the vehicle with us at the time during the test drive.
Yes.
I never rode with them in the vehicle. They took the test drive by themselves.
You weren't in the car with them when they test drove it.
No, because there's a test drive agreement that we sign. I take a photocopy of their driver's license, and I give them the freedom to talk amongst themselves and
Your Honor, that's
kind of
not
do.
true. He absolutely
I believe.
test drove.
But
I
he did go-
believe.
he went in the car with us.
I believe when they came back, they may have mentioned something about a rattle, and I hopped in the car to hear what it is that they were complaining about, and it's probably very much true. Like you said, it's 19 years
Oh,
old.
okay, so we're
How-
just talking about whether he went in the second time. Okay, so that factually isn't that much of a dispute. He did go in the car to hear the rattle, et cetera.
Absolutely.
Did you kick the tires? Did you, other than the test drive, did you look at?
We did. Actually, I brought a set of ramps. Now, mind you, it was 17 degrees outside.
Is that like a jack that lifts it up?
And actually, I don't know much about cars
Yeah.
either, Your Honor. But yeah, we had little ramps that you drive up on, and I actually was able to crawl under the vehicle. I was looking for
So
like
you looked at it?
as much as I could. Now,
Sure.
again, it was 17 degrees, 6 inches of snow, and I'm on the ground. I don't have a light. I'm not a mechanic.
I thought it was the tire. There's a tire on the back that is attached to the door.
And maybe that
And I
was
thought that
rattling.
was the rattle. And we actually went into the office. And, you know, before I signed my paperwork with him, I looked Sam in the eye. And I said, Sam, I don't know anything about cars. I just want to know that the bottom's not going to fall out of this car. And, you know, and he said, Christy, I have my cars looked over by my mechanic. Don't worry, the bottom's not going to fall out of the car.
What happened now?
Then 2 days later, the bottom fell out of the
The
car.
bottom did fall out.
It did fall out of the car.
So I'd like to take
Yeah.
that. And how much was the price?
I paid $2,500.
$2,500 for the car.
And
2 days
actually,
later.
this is what the car actually looked like underneath. The frame was horrible. It fell out in the middle of the highway.
Yeah, that
I had to try
okay.
to get over. It was pretty scary.
Yeah.
I had my dog in the car.
My mother was put in pretty precarious, dangerous situation.
You didn't see any of this when you looked under the car?
Well, I mean, it wasn't broken when I looked
Yeah.
at it.
I mean, you could see it when you lifted up a car
Yeah.
on a rack. And we actually did try to get it to an automotive place, but we couldn't get it in that day. And I was so anxious to get a car because it was freezing out and we
Sure.
didn't have a heater. And
Okay.
I trusted Sam. He's a nice-looking guy. He looks trustworthy.
At that point, Your Honor, I called Sam and I told him that the bottom fell out of the car. What are we going to do about this? He then agreed to pay $250 for a $500 repair. So essentially, I pay half, he
Yeah.
pays the other half.
And that manifold or the drive shaft
Yeah.
that was supposed to be repaired, they just cut it out and threw it away.
Yeah, this
So
repair was not a repair at
I paid for a
all.
repair of what was a four-wheel drive car that they turned into a two-wheel drive car and just threw the parts out. So to me, it just kind of shows he's dishonest.
Yeah.
And Your Honor, I asked for a work order several times and he did not provide one.
The work order is right here, and they did ask for a copy of it, and they got a copy of the work order.
No,
That's
we did
not true, Your Honor.
No, we did not.
So I have the receipt.
Okay.
I have the work order that was given to me by the mechanic that repaired their vehicle. And it was only a suggestion by me that they take it to this mechanic, because I know him very well. Ryan and Christy showed up. Sure, it probably was a cold day, and they wanted to test drive this vehicle. And I don't know if they think that I had just duct taped it together or super glued it together, because they're trying to claim that I misrepresented the condition of the vehicle. Mind you, the dealership is in Dayton. That vehicle came from Columbus, Ohio, and we drive the vehicles ourselves. We drive them from Columbus to Dayton. They started the car right up when they went to go on the test drive. They drove it and came back. There's no way that that is the condition that it was in.
You said that you would help them.
Your Honor, I suggested that they take it to the mechanic that I know well. This entity is completely separate from me. I did not repair the vehicle at all. It
That's
was,
not the way he represented
they
it.
towed it to this place, and I have the evidence of the work order that they claim that they
All
never
right.
received.
What
It's
is
not
the
even on-
$614 you're suing them for?
Yes.
I became the messenger between them and the mechanic. And I ended up paying because Ryan tried to indirectly threaten that he would cancel the check because they paid with a check. And he also reiterated that he wants to buy a vehicle. And so I felt like he's tying his purchase of a vehicle from me.
And you had the
I didn't
email
want
to
him
that.
to stop payment on the check that I already had in my possession. And I felt like it was probably the stand-up thing to do, is to try to offer a little bit of help.
And that's what the $614
Yes, because I feel like now I went above and beyond to try and kind of break the mold of this idea that I sold them a bad car.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
When I showed this car to a mechanic, you know, I've got a whole list of the problems with the car. A mechanic said he would not be able to sleep at night if he sold a car in that condition. That
Okay.
it was unsafe and dangerous.
Your Honor,
Okay.
also, the mechanic that I spoke with told me very clearly the only way that that damage could have happened was if she hit something. I want to present the evidence that there's an affidavit that they bought the vehicle as is.
Okay, that's significant. This document does say, in fairness, notice of vehicle sold without any warranty. This car was sold as is. So, when you go and buy a used car that says as is, there are risks in buying a used car. That's why there's a difference in the price of a new one and a used one. And this one, in fairness, was 19 years old. You brought your son with you, who not many people show up at a used car dealer with their own ramp. So it wasn't bought blindly. You were made aware that it was shaking, making noise. So you had some awareness that there possibly are some problems with this car. When in fact, you did a few days later have it. He did pay, which he was under no legal obligation to do, $614 towards the repairs. It may not be all the repairs, I get it.
On the way.
But that is the risk you take when you buy a used car as is.
But he looked
And
me in the
therefore,
eye and said,
people look you
"I
in the
won't have
eye
a
because that's
problem."
polite. That is polite. And maybe he gave his
lied to
best
me.
judgment. People don't know when the next moment something could happen. The car could be doing fine, and at some point it breaks down. It's pretty hard to predict exactly what day it's going to break down. But if it's 19 years old and it's got things going on that you even heard, it's not a shock out of nothing, and you spent $614, that's on you. It was maybe a very nice thing to do. You didn't have to do it, but you're not entitled to have them pay you back for that. I find both suits will be dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks for watching. Now please approach the bench. The way I look at it, you have two options here. Option A, watch more Judge Jerry. Option B, watch more Jerry Springer. The choice is yours. Now get out of my courtroom. You have more clips to watch. And don't forget to subscribe.